All right, welcome back, everybody. My name is Jeff, and we're here to talk about some Through the Breach. So I searched the internet, and among all of the other content creators who talk about Through the Breach, I picked my favorite, Mr. Douglas Scoundrels. How's it going?
That's going fine. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. That was a joke. Obviously, not enough people
Oh,
talking about Through the Breach, but
oh.
we seem to be the two biggest fans. So I thought it'd be appropriate to have you on to talk some Onward.
Well, thank you very much.
So we obviously have quite a bit as far as new mechanics go, as expected with any Through the Breach expansion here. And for anybody who is not familiar, maybe this is your first Through the Breach expansion that you're checking out, you typically get a similar sort of pattern in these books. You get like a lore section, you get a create a character section, you get a bunch of new items and magic and fun things. Sometimes there's a unique mechanic, and then you get like a little Beastiary here. So I thought it'd be cool to just kind of go through and highlight some of the cool stuff that we found, and I thought maybe the people wanna put some eyes on and maybe incorporate into their games when they get their hands on it. So to kick it off, we have the Compass Tarot. How much messing around with the other tarots have you actually done in your games? I know you tend to play more like traditional RPG style campaigns with Through the Breach, whereas I tend to run kind of constrained one shot. So I don't really mess with the other tarots too much. Do you guys get into them a lot?
I usually just let my players go with whatever tarot fits them the best, with the big exception always being from Shadows, because that tends to shift the narrative away too much for the Fate Master. So it's usually a case of if someone's going to be running a Neverborn, everyone else kind of has to be running a Neverborn. This one fits in fairly well. There's no huge, big power difference between someone who's just starting off in the Explorer Society and someone who's just off the train, fresh in Malifaux, with no other severe changes. I mean, the benefits section, which is kind of part of the character creation, does give some additional stuff. You also are on the hook to do what the society says, which is a little bit more hands-on as far as loyalties to a particular organization, whereas the rest of the character creation tarots just kind of sort of had this as a background for your character.
Right. Yeah, but I think you could still play that pretty loose if you wanted to, where like, you're affiliated and you're maybe trying to become a member, but it doesn't necessarily have to take front stage as far as your character arc goes.
Hmm.
Because just to give people an idea, that when you create your character, you're basically like a recruit, or you're a hopeful prospect, as it were. You're trying to kind of establish enough clout to become a full fledged member, and you can. There's mechanics for becoming a member, but you don't. Just to start, you won't be a member. So I mean, compared to the standard Crossroads Tarot, the biggest differences with the expansion books tend to be that you get one fewer modify point, but you get the ability to cheat a card in for one of your other flips, and it seems like this kind of carries that forward. But obviously, the big difference is you're going to have some sort of backstory reason that's going to be randomly generated as to like why you've acquired the attention of the explorers. So either you've like had some impressive achievement, or you made a discovery that has kind of caused them to become interested in recruiting you. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that they leave it pretty up in the air as far as like, does this have to be a huge part of your character's story or not? I think it's good that they do that because, like you said, it's not great when the character creation is like really shoehorns you into something. Like if you become a Neverborn, it's hard to make it work with a lot of other party members that may not be super happy about you being a Neverborn. Hopefully, people don't have that strong of opinions about the Explorer Society yet. I don't know. Do you think this is going to get used in your games?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's another one. It's one of the ones where it's be a lot easier if the entire party ran it. But the explorers get along with other factions just fine. So anyone that's just looking for this very pulpy kind of character would fit in just well with the other ragamuffins that normally run in my campaigns.
Yeah, I think the way they have it set up with the achievements and stuff, or the benefits, it definitely would work really well if the whole party, like if you want to set up a campaign around this book and be, it could be all about your exploits, trying to gain more favor with the explorers.
Hmm.
But I think it would still be interesting to have just one character kind of this be like their backstory, that they're working on this while whatever else is going on, and maybe some of the things that are happening in the campaign can still gain them some rep and allow them to progress a little bit.
A lot of the stuff they get from a lot of the benefits they get from doing these sort of side missions for the society can benefit the party, and a lot of the things that they can do for the society don't have to wrest narrative control from whatever the party's
Mhm.
doing. They can just go on and have this additional little thing. So there is incentive for the rest of the party to help them out, and also they aren't trying to steal any sort of narrative limelight from what's actually supposed to be going on. And then there's other utterly ridiculous things in here where if you want to make that the entire plot of your particular session, go ahead. They have some extreme stuff in here if
Like
that's
getting
what you
hunted
want
by Cooper.
to. Don't do that. Don't do. Okay, if Fate Masters out there, if you ever consider like, oh, maybe this might be fun for my players, go and read the stat block for Cooper first. Really read it, and then don't do it.
You know, I want to say, like, if Weird's not going to do it themselves, I want to say there'd be a way to make that into an interesting adventure, but it'll be real risky. Like, there's gonna have to be a pretty good chance that your character just flat out dies.
But what you need to do is you need to give Cooper a reason to not just be like, this is my stat block, I'm going against your party. It's just a regular fight. You need some reason for him to make it like a fun hunt, or for him to like know the party and realize, hey, I'm not going to like immediately just
Right?
blast a
Just
hole
Capule.
through you. Like you better beat a 21.
Yeah, well, I was thinking like a whole scenario where it's about like the chase,
Hmm.
most dangerous game style, where you're trying to get away from him and he's after you the whole time. Lots of ongoing challenges and stuff, and hopefully avoiding combat entirely, or if you do get into combat, it being about escaping, not fighting him, because that's hopeless.
My God, it's so.
but that is a way you can gain more rep with the society, is to survive an encounter with Cooper. But again,
There is a window in character power level where it will work.
mhm.
You just need to have a good idea of exactly where that's going to be, and you need to be able to realize that your player is going to have to be able to take a couple shots from Cooper and not immediately die. Uh,
Yeah,
and it's really just on the Fate Master knowing the right spot, the sweet spot for that, and maybe a little bit of fudging. But anyways, yes,
yeah,
it
and
can.
and also like you have to really spec into being tanky to be able to survive those shots because it's gonna be pretty
Mhm.
brutal otherwise.
Or teleport right next to him, one of the two.
Yeah, I mean, there are enough mechanics in this game now that I'm sure there are plenty of people who can find ways. I mean, like one of the big abuses is that you can just like bury an opponent for like 2 weeks or something crazy like that. So if you can get that spell off on him,
Wait, hold on. Does he need to breathe? Give me one
I
sec.
think you
Give me one sec.
survive.
My big question. Oh, he's living. Damn it, he has to breathe. Never mind.
Oh, does that only work if they're not living?
No, my classic thing is that prestidigitation, the range limit on expand range on most spells is within sight.
Hmm.
And then the teleport spell pretty much only specifies that they have to be placed in a safe place that's not like dangerous to them.
So we're gonna portal to
You
them.
can see the moon,
Portal 2.
but the moon does not have oxygen, so it only works in like robots and zombies. That's always my like. This is if I super spec into this. How do I break the game? It's always the teleport to the moon joke. Uh,
Yeah, there's a lot of fun things like that you can do to really get around some of this stuff. But for most people, fighting Cooper not going to go so good.
no, oh my god.
But on that note, so I guess one of the ideas here is that as you're gaining standing within the Explorer Society, you're gaining these benefits that you can sort of cash in for favors from the Explorer Society. Was there anything here that jumped out at you as particularly interesting?
Um, some of the unique grimoires or relics are hilarious. So I guess that's technically both 66 and further on in the book. But
Yeah.
getting some of those is very silly. I'm really excited for it. Honestly, the most boring one is just the research grant where they just throw money at you, but it is the society.
So I was actually gonna say I think that one's really interesting because I definitely know, especially early on, a lot of my players are like, I just need money. I have these things I want to do and I need money, and this is an interesting way to just be like, hey, 15 script for depending on what you're doing, 15 script is quite a lot of money. You can get some fancy guns and other stuff. And the other thing is a lot of the other benefits are rentals specifically, so they are not like you get this thing permanently. It's like you get this for a set period of time. So the 15 script, I don't know. I feel like that's interesting. It's definitely the most boring for sure, but it can be useful, I think.
Yeah, and that's always just as a Fate Master, you can always curtail that a bit if your players are suddenly rolling in it. But I think that's maybe one of the few ways you can get the oh god, what is it called? The rich person advanced pursuit.
Oh, does it require you to have a certain amount of money?
I might be misremembering it, but I thought it was part of the requirements, just being stupid rich, at least partially stupid rich. I could be wrong. Regardless, it's within theme to be
Mm.
stupid rich. So if you want to be a magnate, maybe this is how you get just a whole lot of pocket money, or this is how you get robbed. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. That's what I would do is just rob my party and
Just
maybe party them.
they get too much money, just mob them with orphans. What are they gonna do?
The other one that's really interesting here is personal favor allows you to borrow a member of the society temporarily to go out on a mission. It says they have to be rank values 6 or less, which limits it to basically minions. But you can increase it by 4 for every extra benefit you spend. So after not that long, you could, in theory, have Lord Cooper come with you on a mission as an ally, which seems crazy.
It seems very silly because he is going to be really, really, really bored unless you find something for him to kill. I would do that just to piss him off. I mean, he's not going. He's only going to go on one mission with you and then never again. But
Yeah.
that one mission where you're like herding cattle or something, he's just gonna be real mad.
I mean, if you're going out on a monster hunt, he might be down. He might have a good time.
You might have a good time. You might just let him do his thing, and you just sit back,
Yeah, it would make it kind of boring.
take a relaxing break. Doing great, Justin.
Yeah, you just cheer him on from the sideline while he takes care of it.
Him and his like 10,000 guys that do all the actual tracking for him.
Yeah. The next section here is the pursuits. So definitely very unusual here. So instead of getting like a bunch of pursuits, we now have basically 4 pursuits with sub pursuits. What do you think about that?
This is, I think, this is the most important, I guess, shift in Through the Breach, because this opens up for a lot of small retroactive changes, ways to bring up old pursuits. God, what they do when they just put out small little tidbits of stuff for Through the Breach?
They
I'm
have like the
sunburnt.
download section of the website where you can.
Yeah, the little things like Marrowbone, which end up being in this book. Like they could do that with pursuits. Go back and be like, you know what, the Scrapper pursuit in the core book is kind of like lacking now, so let's give it a sub pursuit or two that really jazzes it up. I think that'd be really easy to do, and that'd be easier for us doing like fan stuff to jazz them up ourselves instead of like having to figure out how to write an entire pursuit. You only have to do half.
Yeah, I like it from a thematic perspective. It requires you to sort of make some important decisions as far as how to specialize your character. It also occurred to me that if they were gonna go in and retroactively apply this to some of the older pursuits, it's another way to sort of soft limit certain like really broken combinations, because the way that the sub pursuits work, you can only take one. So it's the only the game really encourages multi-classing, so you can play whatever different pursuits you want. This is really the only restriction on that. So there would theoretically be things you couldn't get both of the abilities from. I don't know how that would play out in the older pursuits. It really depends on what they did with it, but it's just one way they could sort of limit some of the broken stuff in the game, because this game is famously very breakable.
Anyways, yeah, but fuck yes, Gourmand. I love Gourmand so much
What about it
because
gets you going so much?
because they're willing to put out any kind of pursuit as long as it sort of fits the theme. It's the same sort of bucket of everything mentality that was the original idea of Malifaux.
Mhm.
Like, you can be so good at cooking, you can actually affect characters in a support role, or literally throw a pot of boiling soup at someone. Um, or you can be a barista. You can be a barista in Through the Breach. I love that so unbelievably much. You have no no idea. Or Patisserie. I'm gonna enjoy watching people mispronounce that. Um,
Yeah, I wasn't gonna try.
also, also introduces the concept of a gremlin pitmaster. By the way, which I think we all just assumed they were really good at barbecue, but
Hmm. I
mhm.
mean, pigs are their thing, you know.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Also, whoever came up the quote for the methodologist, bleep this video too. Fuck you. Too soon. That show came out like 20 years ago, but still,
Is that a
that's a Full Metal Alchemist reference.
oh, okay.
That's the Full Metal Alchemist reference. If you want people to like get mad at you on the internet.
Excellent. There's so many references and some weird stuff that I don't even get half of them. So
Yeah, there's some
methodology
fucking
is actually I think my favorite in the list here. Actually,
science magic.
I talked to Matt about it back when I spoke to him earlier this year. I think it's a really interesting idea. It's funny because in Malifaux they always they're a little bit inconsistent, I would say, or I guess um, they kind of allow a lot of different interpretations of how magic works. You know, there's some characters who just seem to have innate magical ability. There's some people who seem to have to like study or practice. It's there's not like a set way that people draw on their magical abilities. And the methodologist is like, what if you're just a scientist? What if you just study and do science, and that's how you do your magic? And I kind of love that.
It's not magic. It's science.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
science. Don't think about it too hard.
Well, again, in some ways in the lore, they treat magic like it's magnetism. You know, it's a natural force that you can manipulate and do things with. And in some ways, they treat it more like traditional magic, where it's just magic and doesn't really have to make sense. So this is interesting because it kind of pushes in that direction. The other thing is, it actually really changes how magic works. So instead of having a grimoire, you have an alchemistry. I don't know if I'm saying that correct, but it's like your little toolkit of science tricks, and it seems like it's an interesting way to really get access to a lot of magic, because as you kind of level up, you add more things to your toolkit, and whereas if you've got more grimoires as a mage, you have to change your magic and you don't get access to the old stuff. This kind of seems like eventually allows you to get a ton, which is another interesting thing because it can give you like a very wide range of abilities.
Doesn't it force your magical theory though?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's like the limiter there.
Yeah.
Scientifically. I've been pronouncing it alchemistry
Seems valid.
because that's the one that hurts my tongue the least.
That's always the
Yeah, I
best
know.
way.
I know how to pronounce some of these. Some of them I'm just also just guessing.
Hmm. How often in your campaigns do you actually use advanced pursuits?
I just let people ask me if they want to do it. It doesn't happen all that often, but I never say no to people unless it seems like they're intentionally trying to break the game. But it's more of a case of if the user feels guided towards wanting to do an advanced pursuit, I'll let them have it. But a campaign I am slowly working on, we'll see the characters actually start with a single rank in advanced pursuit. So I'm interested to see what they gravitate towards on that, but I'm assuming we're moving on to advanced pursuits now.
Yeah, I mean, unless you had something else you wanted to say about the regular pursuits.
The astronomer's hilarious. The nuke that they get at the very end.
The nuke.
Yeah. Falling skies. That's step 8. That's not even the very end.
Yeah, I was looking at the last thing and I was like, I just read this and it's just lets you cast better.
Yeah, sorry, no. At step 8, they basically get as long as you can sit there and kind of point at a spot, you will just build up a bigger and bigger explosion. Because you just calling a meter down on the ground. That's safe.
Classic. Yeah, excellent.
I guess the limiting factor is that if you go too far away from your point of explosion, it stops. So at some point, you are within the blast radius. But yeah, we can move on. I do also enjoy the general explorer. That seemed very, very useful. And I think when I ran character creation in Gen Con last year, I think almost everyone went for that initially, with a few exceptions.
Mm-hmm. Was there something in particular about it that appealed to them, or was it just the concept?
I think it's because the entire character creation was about like joining the Explorer Society. People
Right.
thought, oh, this is about being an explorer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because not everybody is going to be necessarily be like well known for their exploring, because that's what the random flip during the character creation. But I suppose it doesn't mean you can't choose to go into that anyway. So
Mhm. Yeah, moving on to the advanced pursuits. The two that stand out to me as like something that people will definitely want to pursue more than anything is the duo operative and the paleontologist.
mm-hmm.
I love the paleontologist. I was never expecting there to be or the fact that a paleontologist is just a necromancer in Malifaux. Spoilers, I guess. But yeah, now if you want to be Bone Daddy, you can be a paleontologist, which is effectively just like, I'm a scientist, but secretly a necromancer. We're gonna call me a scientist so that the guild stops snooping around asking questions.
Getting off on a technicality, I love it.
It's beautiful. It's a Jurassic Park reference.
Yeah, I
In
mean,
the
I
core.
think that's the most Malifaux thing I've encountered in this book. I think that's great. And also, yeah, anytime there's a Ian Malcolm quote, I think we're doing things correctly here.
Yeah. So paleontologist, just bone necromancer, specifically skeletons. But the duo operative has just a lot of stuff in it.
Hmm.
I think they tried to appeal to both people that like the shadow wizardry of it, and as well as the secret agent
Yeah,
side of it. I think it does a decent job of straddling that effectively, because your step 3, 4, and 5 are just either do spy stuff or do shadow wizardry stuff, your pick.
yeah. I almost wonder if they wouldn't have been better off splitting those in two. But I guess if you're just making choices, one or the other, it kind of allows you to have it both ways. And there's also other pursuits that are like spy craft focused. So
Mhm.
if they had that as a separate thing, it might be a little redundant. We're in the. I mean, I don't know how many pursuits there are total now, but there are many, many, many
Uh,
pursuits in this game. So
60? Around 60.
yeah, it's got to be right around there.
Because I know when I rolled up for the butts thing, I had to drop like 2 or 3, because I did one for each card of the deck, and I had a few more pursuits left over, and now we have a supplement after that.
Nice.
Oh, we didn't talk about our favorite mechanic.
If you're enjoying this video and you want to support the channel, then there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. The first would be to pick up some merchandise through my merch store. You can grab a t-shirt, a hoodie, a mug, a sticker, all sorts of cool stuff like that. You can also shop using my affiliate links. So if you're going to make any purchases from any of these companies, you can use the links in the description below to make your purchases, and it will go directly to supporting the channel at no extra cost to you. There's also a link for my Ko-fi if you would just like to give me a tip, or my Patreon if you want to support me longer term. I have a bunch of different tiers there, and there are all sorts of benefits available to people, such as early access to videos, ad-free videos, the opportunity to vote in polls about upcoming content, and extra entries into the giveaways that I run occasionally. But if none of that is your cup of tea, no problem at all. Just make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and leave a like on the video. It actually helps a tremendous amount. And if you want to go the extra mile, then consider sharing the video out with some friends who you think might find it interesting. The YouTube algorithm is not kind to small YouTubers, so that helps a whole bunch. Other than that, consider joining the Discord, also linked in the description, where you can come and hang out with me and the rest of the community and talk games. But with that, let's get right back to the video.
We didn't talk about our favorite mechanic on the outside of the book, the exclamation point, which I totally called. I'm taking credit for that. For those of you who don't know, the supplements for Through the Breach spelled out Malifaux,
Mhm.
starting with the core book, which had MA, and then into the Steam at L, and under quarantine had I, and so on and so forth. And we got to X with From Shadows, and like, well, what are we gonna do next for the Explorers book? And I was like,
Punctuation,
what if it's just
baby.
what if it's just an exclamation point? And it is. So I'm taking credit for that. I love it so much. Okay, so I rambled about Advanced Pursuits. What are your thoughts?
I was just gonna add, I was part of me was hoping they would start spelling a new word, so we'd all have to try to struggle to figure out what the new word was gonna be. But I'm not disappointed. It's an exclamation point. Um, yeah, my only thing is, even in talking to some other folks who do run more traditional campaigns, the advanced pursuits tend to be something that a lot of people don't play with quite as much because they usually require you to do something significant in order to get access to them. So unless you're kind of being hand wavy about that and saying like, unless you're either focusing the campaign on that objective or you're being hand wavy and saying, oh, this is something you did in the background off screen while we weren't playing. A lot of them are things that you can't easily get access to. So um, I feel like they are maybe underused, and maybe the right answer is to be a little bit more lenient about that, just so that people can mess
I
around
think
with
we
them more.
as Fate Masters need to just be more overt with like, hey, we're okay with these things going out there. Just s- state your interest. We'll put breadcrumbs in front of you
Yeah,
to make it available, but it's something your character needs to like seek out more or less.
right.
Because no, I don't think like people want advanced pursuits forced on them.
Sure, yeah. But you got to have the option if.
Unless it's Magnate. I don't think anyone's going to complain about suddenly being rich.
Yeah, I think they did a great job with the theme of all of these, like we've already sort of mentioned. I really like the Curiositeer. If you want to be like a hacky Indiana Jones type, just like going out collecting relics and doing weird stuff. Um,
Eccentric weirdo.
yeah, I mean that's just fun. Like one of the best things about this system is how unique some of the stuff is. Like you don't just have to be a rogue or a barbarian or a mage. You can do tons of weird stuff and
You
be a paleontologist.
could be a barista.
Or a barista, yeah, exactly. It's funny. I had a character in one of my games who was a chef, and he tried to like shoehorn some of the mechanics into him being a chef, and now there's just a pursuit for him now.
There's only one skill out there I feel like is missing its own pursuit now at this point, and that's music. I feel like we need a musician.
Yeah, we don't have a bard, do we?
No, we have one advanced pursuit, and that's kind of a joke. It's in the Bayou book, and that's more about annoying people with music. But
Mhm. I mean, that's
yeah,
kind of what a bard does, right?
I get yes. Still, I think that's virtuoso.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we could definitely do with that with a bard.
yeah. Yeah, so then the next section is about the new magical mechanics, and again, there's so much magic in the game already that it's hard for me to believe that they found new spells and things to add to the game, but they in fact did. Um, it gives us the scientific method, so this is actually the magical theory you have to use with what the hell is the name of the pursuit that we were just talking about? Methodologist.
Methodologist.
And basically, it gives you a one with a suit in every skill, but it means you can never cast it at higher than a one. So it's going to kind of mean you're pretty good at magic up front, but you're never going to get better than pretty good at magic.
You're a generalist that doesn't need to fish for their suits, but you're never going to be able to like really hit them hard with that advanced shit.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I feel like early in a campaign, that'll be super powerful. And
Mhm.
late in a campaign, if you push a campaign really far and like go past when you're supposed to, it'll almost be useless because if you're only ever casting out like a 4 at best.
Well, you could shift into supportive stuff where you're mostly trying to hit TNs instead of hitting your opponent.
That's true. Yeah.
Yep, and if you get enough positive flips, then it's going to be pretty safe to do. But
Mm.
there's ways around it.
Yeah, it is interesting that it just builds the suits in. That's something that I hadn't really put together. That makes some, especially being that you have the ability to add a bunch of different magia to your little toolkit. That makes it a lot easier to be able to just like take all different types of magic. You can raise zombies, throw fireballs, and turn yourself invisible. And I think that might be what I'll do. So that's gonna be fun.
Brain fog. Sorry, I'm just going through the magic. Yeah, there's not a ton of spells in this one. I think this is the fewest amount of spells we've gotten in one of. But that's fine. There's you can only expand it so much when the whole point is building more and more and more of them. So just coming up with more weird and unique stuff, and I think part of these is also just playing with the new conditions we got as well. Gaussian warp is real weird. That's sort of a gamble one where you flip a card and you deal damage equal to not equal to the value, but like caster can suffer damage sometimes depending on what you flip. So it's a bit of a risk, but it can also deal out a lot of damage. It's
and a black joker, 6 to each. That's that's pretty intense.
I guess the nice thing is that it's not on a specific severity, so I think it would count as a weak critical effect, at least. I think that's how that works.
For the Black Joker?
For any of them. If you go below 0 because of them, and since they're not tied to a severity, I think it becomes a weak.
Oh, yes, I believe that's correct.
Which is good, because if you suddenly just take 6 damage from this spell,
you nuke yourself. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, the odds on it are pretty stacked in your favor. Like it's only a 1 or a Black Joker that are going to hurt you. A 2 through 12, you do 3 damage, and a 13, you do 5. It's like you're almost always going to do 3 damage. Occasionally, you'll spike it or it'll hurt you, which actually makes it pretty powerful because as a basic caster, you have to boost the damage with the Immuto a handful of times to get to min damage 3, and this is just effectively min damage 3, kind of, but there's obviously the risk that you'll hurt yourself. So I feel like, again, as a low level caster, that might be pretty useful as long as you're willing to accidentally take 6 damage.
I really think Prestidigitation is the most interesting ones of all these. The enchanting ones is mostly fiddling with the constructs again, because there's a decent amount of construct stuff in this book. But Zoetropify is so interesting because it just says that you gain shielded every time you're moved or you take a move action, which with a lot of movement shenanigans you can have on other characters, just with how their characters are, you can suddenly get a lot of people with a lot of shielded on them.
Yeah.
And I just like the idea of a flashbang. Like, it's really interesting for offensive prestidigitation, because so much of before, I think, Gravity Flux, the prestidigitation was very much hands-off, either teleporting or fiddly, stage magic stuff.
Right.
And so bringing it in to be more, you can use this for combat is always nice. It's probably my favorite school of magic in Through the Breach.
Yeah, it's also one of the easiest ones to break, but I do like that these are somewhat combat focused in not a like just distract your opponent with an illusion.
Putting someone on the moon is perfectly balanced. I don't know what you're talking.
I mean, even the invisibility one, especially if you're not like throwing really powerful enemies at your players, if they turn themselves invisible, there's kind of not a lot you can do about it. It's
I think it's you just count as blind, right?
It's a double negative to target them.
That'd count as blind,
which is basically just blind, yeah. And there's a way to, if you suspect that they're there's a way to check to try to remove the invisibility or basically remove the double negative. But it's pretty hard to get. I forget exactly how the mechanic works, but it's pretty strong. And you can cast it on yourself and make it last a long time. So. But yeah, I agree. I think having even just having a support ability like Zoetropify, that's pretty cool. I think there's definitely a handful of spells that are pretty good as far as support stuff goes, but I always like to see more things that push people to cooperate in combat instead of just everyone wanting to be the star of the show and just hack and slash or shoot. Um, Having more stuff that's like, hey, work together and do cool combos to stack up a ton of shielded. That's fun.
Okay. Do we want to talk about relics or?
Yeah, I don't think anything here super jumped out at me because I figured I probably wouldn't give these to my players. But what was your thinking on these?
Again, these are to facilitate a story. This is not
Sure.
you just randomly giving them to a person
Hmm.
because it is going to make them stinking powerful. So it is something that you're probably going to give to them temporarily to start a story, end a story, or go through the entire part of the story. Because a decent amount of these ones have real awful ending stuff. We're not going to go over the real cursed stuff because we don't want people to know which ones are super cursed and which ones just have benefits.
You'll find
I
out
will
the
say
hard way.
I will say my favorite is the HMS Hellbore because I'm surprised I never thought of this concept. I can just pretty much explain what it is. It's a ship in a bottle that becomes just a regular ship. I'm delighted by that.
Yeah. Can you put it back in the bottle?
Relic returns to its bottle form only when docked.
Hmm.
Yes,
Cool. Yeah, I like that.
portable ship.
Yeah, portable ship. You just carry it around with you, which is fun because one of my favorite new things from this book is the vehicles, which we'll get to, I guess, in a little bit.
Yeah, we can move on. Like, definitely, I don't want to get too much into relics because that's a lot of spoilery stuff.
Yeah, like you said, these are the types of things that you would organize an entire, if not a campaign, at least a significant chunk of a campaign around getting these things. And also one of the cool things, and you guys bring this up on the podcast a lot, of like some of the just the descriptions and what these things do is a interesting way to just like inspire a campaign, right? If you're having trouble coming up with something, what's the name of the book you guys always talk about on the podcast? The journal, or no, the book about the guild guard. I can never remember what it's called.
The Snowbound Guard.
There you go, the Snowbound Guard. That's it. Like, if that doesn't, if you read the description of that thing and it doesn't inspire you to write a campaign around it, then I don't know what you're doing.
Let's eat some Tide Pods.
Ugh, a
I
Tide
made that,
Pod.
and may or may not have been a part of the playtest. I may or may not have been the first thing I said when I saw this.
Yeah, I bet. So, equipment, we get a bunch of new items, weapons, equipment, fun things. What does a Tide Pod do?
Just summon yourself a Tide Caller.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, no. Goodness. I'm glad it doesn't have a script cost because that's got to be a lot. Effectively, I think tide color is effectively just a water golem.
Hmm.
It has the stat of a water golem.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got to. It's apparently huge. You can still carry it, but it's big.
Hmm.
You just carry it around, and then it's like, oh, we need a water golem. Yep, water golem. Open it up, release the golem, and it goes and does the fighting for you, and then you can, with a decent check. This is more like you need to be an engineer. Oh my goodness, they do so much engineering stuff in here. They heard me complaining about the lack of mathematics and engineering stuff in the game, and like we're just going to make this entire supplement about mathematics and engineering.
Excellent. One for the nerd.
Yeah. It's never expected it to be like. I always thought Tidecaller was like a singular character, not just something they could put in a box
Right.
and hand off to other people in the society. So that's a great little bit of fluff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the typical especially newer things from Alpha, where it's in the game and we get a paragraph or two about it, but you don't really see much more of it because the story's been so focused on other things. So that is a good point. But it's interesting because there's no price associated with it and one of the reasons, I guess some of the stuff has prices, but one of the reasons this is supposed to be like stuff that you're getting from your connections with the explorers.
Mm-hmm. Like to be able to construct it, you need both a rank 5, the highest rank possible in both artifacting and sorcery. So, that's obscenely expensive.
Yeah. Or 3 benefits. That's
Yeah,
much more
or 3
reasonable.
benefits. That's one whole Lord Justin Cooper
Yeah, there you go. I'll take the
for one
Tidecaller
mission.
over the Justin Cooper any day.
He's a better conversationalist.
Yeah.
Um, actually, the art for this section has me slightly terrified that there's an alpha crawler somewhere in Malifaux.
What are?
The equipment page, the introductory, like, to the
Oh.
section.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. The picture, the drawing of one.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
theoretically, that's where they all come from. So there should be
uh-huh,
alpha crawlers.
there should be. It's just now I want stats for something.
I mean, if Weird ever
Um,
paid attention to the other side of the game, maybe we would get them. But
I can always come up with some stats myself, anyways. So what? Okay, so Tide Pod joke aside, what excites you most on this? Because the most boring ones here actually excite me the most.
um, I think getting a Skulker skin cloak would be fun. I don't know how super useful it's gonna be, but I just like the idea of you wearing one of them as a suit. It just gives you benefit to stealth challenges and +1 shielded actually, and that's interesting because that does tie into a TOS mechanic where they get positive flips when they're standing next to terrain. So that's always fun to see. The weighted net is interesting. There's something already, I forget which book it's from, but there's already something somewhere that works very similarly to this. But having a weapon that can give slow is super duper powerful, especially against big, a single powerful enemy. Having their AP is always quite good.
Yeah. I don't know how much you allow talking about playtest stuff or whatnot, but I noticed that. I had made sure that anything that had repeated like that and then net gun
Mhm.
was significantly different than what already existed in the game. Because yes, these are things that are definitely should be in the Explorer's
Yeah.
book, but we also should have something noticeably different than what exists. There's just a generic net in
Mhm.
the about the law,
Okay.
and I think the net gun's also in there. Yeah, the AG net gun's also in there. So those have noticeably different stat lines.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
But I like before we going back to the stuff, the idea that there is actually just a generic anti-venom that like fixes any poison is it's great because like yeah, that seems like something that Malifaux could come up with its access to magic and pseudoscience, but also of course this exists, and of course only the Explorer Society has it, and of course they're not letting anyone else use it, even though this would probably save a lot of lives on the frontier.
Yeah.
Because they're greedy bastards.
Yeah, I
Also, the
mean,
fact that
I think when I read this, I interpret it as it's an anti-venom to the specific thing you got that bit you, but we're pretending like we're hand waving when you get it compared to when you get bit, right? Like it doesn't specifically like the idea of the poison condition is just a catch-all for you got a bad thing inside your body. um I don't necessarily like it takes a little bit of a leap of logic here, but I don't necessarily read this as it is an anti-venom for all possible venoms. It's just it happens to be the anti-venom for the one that you needed, even though you bought it before you got bit by that particular snake.
oh yeah, I guess it's still let me be mad at the Explorer Society, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean we're always mad at the Explorer Society, so that's cool.
Yeah. Um, I also want to just enjoy the fact that there's a distinct difference between bear traps and mauler traps. So on onto the murder tools. Yeah, nets, net gun, and a slightly smaller version of Cooper's cannon.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I mean, we needed something reasonably priced at 70 script instead of 150.
oh my that no, the slightly smaller version of Cooper's gun is the 800 nitro because
Oh yeah,
Cooper's
his is
is
a
a
900, right?
900. Bro, yeah. The 750 is what the Royal Rifle Corps uses in the other side.
Oh, yeah, good call.
Yeah. Which is kind of disturbing. Like, I realized they probably had decent guns, but I wasn't expecting them to be, well, firing also cannons. But anyways, good on them. Good on them.
I mean, that's interesting because if you think about comparing the mechanics of the two games, they have like a pretty middling attack with their rifles, and this is a 3.56 with precise, which I forget what precise does, but if you think about how that compares, that's pretty interesting.
Oh, goodness. How dare I forget what precise does? It's not like there's 30 different weapon effects. I'm not actually complaining. I really enjoy the fact that weapons have such different flavor in Malifaux
Agreed.
versus like a D&D where like there's just always an optimized option for you.
Agreed.
Precise. Oh, it gives you crit strike. It doesn't build
Oh,
it in, but it gives you the trigger on the
right.
weapon.
Okay. So 3.56 with a possible 4, 6, 7. That's a pretty powerful gun.
Powerful gun. It's a little bit. I think what I would do, personally, someone mentioned this in my Discord when bringing up the whole being hunted by Cooper and it not being a challenge and more of a total party wipe without any sort of
It's a fail state.
mercy,
Yeah.
is that you try to give a reason to bring in Cooper 2. But then we're like, well, what does Cooper 2 have? And I think that's probably the compound bow listed here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's still a pretty hefty 3-4-5 damage track, but that's not flattening you quite as easily.
Yeah, it's not gonna one shot perma kill you. It's just gonna 2-shot mostly perma kill you.
You get a warning before you die.
Right. He's got to hit you twice. I mean, theoretically, if you're running away, again, I think you have to make it a more complicated scenario than just a combat encounter. But um, we'll have to plan something for that and see what we can come up with. It'll be interesting.
Flare gun.
The next section is for vehicles, and this is really interesting because vehicles and transportation have always been like we don't really have a lot of information about things like distances. We kind of have to work that stuff out for ourselves. The world is really well developed. There's a lot of different places, but how far apart are they? Don't know. You kind of just gotta, hand wave some of that stuff. But this gives us a lot more information about, not necessarily about distances, but it gives you a lot of options as far as traveling goes. It also confirms the existence of certain things that we've never seen pop up in the fiction before. So like you can just get a car. Those exist. Which timeline it matches, it works out anyway, but not something we had confirmed before, which is pretty interesting. The other thing is we also have basic rules for vehicle combat, which is not really something that we've had before. So that's always fun. There's defense stats and health stats for the vehicles. So if you want to, have a shootout in cars like 30s gangsters, we can do that. We could theoretically just have a boat battle. We could be pirates if we wanted to.
Yeah, so we could be pirates on the fucking Frost. No, Frost Run comes from the 10 Peaks. What's the one that comes from that actually goes through Malifaux City?
Fortune.
I can't.
The Fortune.
Yeah,
River.
Fortune. Thank you. Fortune Falls. Yeah, that doesn't seem like that's a very good river to allow like wide bottom boats, but
no. As a matter of fact, I think specifically there's a point in the river that it has a really shallow part, and then so that you can't move. I'm 90% sure there is lore on that you can't actually leave the city in a boat that has any kind of draft because there's a shallow point. Like on the east where it exits the city.
Yeah, near the sink. That would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably just part of the city.
Yeah. But we even get things like dinghies, a fan boat, which of course, if you're going to be in the bayou, that's what you would do. Just another kind of interesting thing that kind of both mechanically as well as lore-wise expands the world out a little bit better. We also have some interesting bits here about how you acquire licenses to legally operate some of these vehicles, which is very funny.
I do enjoy the idea licenses and like the driving points system. The idea of like getting better at it as opposed to just relying strictly on a skill of some kind. I really enjoy. Because I think was it like what are you driving with? Engineering?
Good question.
Could be wrong, or it might be different depending on what vehicle you're using. But
I think
like
so.
it's quite possible someone wanted like, oh, now we have driving in this game. I want to be a good driver. I have no engineering skill. I'm screwed. No, you can work towards being good at driving at the very least.
Right.
Fan boat. So exciting.
Yeah.
Extremely dangerous. I cannot wait for models to exist in Malifaux because gremlins have stolen these, most of them at this point.
I'm kind of surprised that doesn't exist already, but it's always room for growth, you know. They
It feels like something
draw things out of Through the Breach and add them to the skirmish game later, so
it feels like a fairly modern invention, so I'm wondering what like a steampunk fan boat looks like. I wish we had an artistic depiction of it.
yeah.
Yeah, we're looking at ships here, and then you've got vehicles and stuff. There's a lot more sailing stuff in here.
Yeah.
I was expecting. I don't know if that's just a case of like nautical technology is behind compared to most technology was ahead of its time, or like sailing vessels just tend to fare better in there. What was that theory? Right. I had the personal thought that like um boats powered by engines tended to attract big stabby crab things.
Beasties. Yeah.
And thus sailing vessels actually had a purpose in dangerous places like Malifaux.
Yeah. No, it's funny that you say that because I actually brought that up to Matt when I was talking to him that it hadn't I hadn't thought that there would be so many sailing vessels still around in this time period because we were looking at, you know, the early 19 teens and it seems like there should be more non-sail powered vehicles, but it seems like they definitely do have a pretty significant presence. That's an interesting theory, though. I mean, we've seen steam powered boats get attacked by giant water creatures before, so maybe that's what it is. Sails are quiet.
We also have probably arguably a good chunk of remnants from the first opening, which was entirely sail. So if they have like a decent nautical presence before the breach collapsed, quite possibly they just have a lot of stuff lying around. Might as well use it.
So that's the other interesting question here is that, you know, obviously you don't have to play in Malifaux, you can play Earthside, but a lot of these things probably don't have any presence in Malifaux because how do you get an ironclad through to Malifaux? You have to go on train tracks. So if whatever you're bringing doesn't fit on a train, how do you get it?
Tarp over it.
Huh?
Put a tarp over it. No one will suspect a thing.
Sure, but you know, if it's too big, then it certainly isn't going to be common, and it's probably something only the guild is going to have access to. Yeah. The average person's not going to have a galleon in the Fortune River, even if they wanted to.
Yeah, you need like a Ramos Leviathan center point thing. This is what these worlds are. This is the Nine Gods canon all over again.
Right. Right. I mean, unless somebody's building certain things in Malifaux, which some of the smaller stuff certainly they could. But there hasn't really been a point to a lot of, especially the watercraft, until recently when the ocean was discovered. So, unless it was something that specifically went in the rivers, anything bigger, there was no reason to have it until recently. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Motorcycles will definitely be making appearances in my games. Absolutely.
I think I read somewhere like part of the reason why we don't see a lot of vehicles in the lore and stuff is because the roads just suck in Malifaux.
Yeah.
I love that explanation. I'm sure there's something simple along the lines of we just didn't want to bother with them actually existing in this universe. No, the roads just suck. Yeah. No one wants to drive on them.
Well, it's interesting because there's definitely like carriages come up in stories and in like Through the Breach adventures a lot, but we never see them in art, so we don't know what they look like. Or very rarely, if that.
Yeah, Colette's Courage with the mechanical horses, that'd be some pretty art.
Right. Yeah. But we never see it.
Jalopy. Jalopy and Dingy, I feel like Matthew might have just latched onto that word. It's like, okay, we're gonna just use this as a general term for like mediocre vehicle.
Yeah, it's something you cobble together. It's what the gremlins will drive.
God, Gremlin vehicles sounds wonderful. I'm gonna write in some kind of campaign around that.
Absolutely. I mean, in Butts, weren't we on a riverboat at some point? Or was that just a rowboat?
It was just a regular rowboat. Now now that fan boats exist, I guess we gotta give you more reason to kill your characters.
Absolutely. And then the last section here is airborne vehicles, which is fascinating. Obviously, we've already known that airships were a thing, but we also have hot air balloons and dirigibles, which we also knew were a thing, but haven't come up much. They're very expensive, as you might expect, but another interesting way to get around, and also you can theoretically get access to some of this stuff from the explorers for less, without spending 500,000 script.
I'm actually surprised we didn't see some kind of nod or indication towards personal propulsion things, since we have several characters with jetpacks in the game in Malifaux at this point.
That's true.
Now would be a good time to maybe the Explorer Society has a few of these slightly more reliable jetpacks around, so we could have humans take on the Rocketeer advanced pursuit and not feel like they're just going to instantly die.
Well, and another interesting thing that's missing here is just an airplane in the traditional sense, because again, they were around in real life at this point. So with magic, you'd think they'd be easier to make, but
that is weird.
Yeah, no powered flight here, just balloons.
What are they doing? What are the Wright brothers doing?
I don't know.
The wrong brothers, the wrong sisters.
They got captured by the guild and they're in a slave camp somewhere. I don't know. Well, and it's interesting because a lot of this, like even the appearance of the game, it looks like, and we are in fact leading up to World War I time period where airplanes became, they were in use in the war. So you'd think that's something that would come up, but nothing yet. I don't know.
Another small, really thing I thoroughly enjoy about this is the different manufacturers. I love the little extra bits of lore, but I didn't realize there was a competitor to Winston Dirigibles. There's someone else making blimps.
So both of the, interestingly, I'm playing through Days Without Incident, or Days Without Accident, whatever it's called. And both of those manufacturing companies, for land vehicles specifically, make an appearance in that. So what's the name of the aircraft? Royal Airships? Okay, yeah, so that's not. But then the two for land vehicles are in that already. So those are pulls from the lore.
Okay, we got three now for land vehicles: Dura, Pirogavat, and Abyssinia Electrical.
Yeah, which makes sense. Because
that'd be so cool. I want to see. I think that might be the vehicle I want to see the most. Well, okay, two. One, the steampunk fan boat, and then two, an Abyssinian electric car.
It walks on legs. Because why not?
Why not?
And the last section here, we have the Beastiary. This is usually my favorite section to go through because there's always fun things in here. It starts off with the new rules we have for monsters, which is something we already knew about. This kind of allows you to set up a raid boss type thing where you're going to really plan out. You try to do research on the creature's weakness, and then the actual encounter, the enemy will have a bunch of extra rules that make it much harder to deal with. So it's going to be like a big climactic battle, which is really fun. I'm looking forward to playing around with that. But then we get a whole bunch of monsters and beasties and creatures, mostly pulled from either Explorer Society directly from Malifaux the game, or from Through the Breach Adventures, or new stuff just for this book.
New exciting, mysterious locations, or possibly. I don't have all of the Penny Dreadfuls and one shots and stuff, so I might not recognize some of these locations. So, but like the Camazotz and all those guys around them, I didn't recognize.
The Camazotz is from Fire in the Sky.
Okay. Oh,
Um,
so no, sorry, that's not what I was thinking of. Some of these names.
yeah. I still haven't decided how to say Sarasanar. I don't know.
Sarasanar or Sarasanar. Yeah, these guys. I think Sarasanar is probably the closest, but I feel like the core word is Saracen. I'd need to go looking up word origins,
Yeah,
which is
that's
a
a good
hobby.
point.
Is blue dudes, which wait, are they Awa?
I think so. Yeah, what are you talking about?
Oh, so somehow. Okay. Yep. God, I should actually read. Yay, an Awa cult. That's nice.
Mhm.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, that so the book also gives us a bunch of information lore wise about certain locations on the map, which we didn't really get into here, but it kind of explains
Mhm.
a little bit more about that cult. It's pretty interesting. It actually ties in a little bit with some of the things we learned in Fire in the Sky. Interestingly, they refer to that place as on a different continent in the past, and now it seems like it's just past the mountains, which I guess could be a different continent, but that's a little weird way to define a continent.
I mean, we have Europe and Asia.
Right, but typically when you think of another continent, you think of a body of water separating them. It seems like this is just going to be a mountain range, which is, is fair, but it's not what I was expecting. Um, but that's also where Kinnametsin comes from. He was in Fire in the Sky.
Got that. God, it's gross.
It's
Sorry,
also
I'm
supposed
just
to be like gigantic.
actually looking at the artwork now, getting completely distracted. Instead of actually looking at these guys. How it's supposed to be huge?
I,
25 wounds. Oh, he's monstrous. That would be it. Yep.
yeah,
Yep. That's big. That's big.
he's height 5 in the rules here. I don't remember if they give a specific height to him in the Through the Breach adventure, but I vaguely like in my mind he was multiple stories tall. Like he was a big kaiju type dude.
I feel like 5 kind of is like max. I don't think I've ever seen anything bigger than 5.
Yeah.
And height is always just like a general vibe. Like size is always like a better descriptor. I'm glad they shifted to that in 3rd edition.
Yeah.
I do like we actually get a name for the little fucking weirdos on the mysterious emissaries.
The
base.
podling. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm fucking thanks. And another creeper. Yay. Still not my favorite, but I love us getting more creepers. I love evil angry flowers.
I wanted to call out the stench flower because I think this is a really genius way to write an enemy in this game. So if you're familiar, that's a real flower that Vileplume, the Pokemon, is based on, and famously it smells like a dead body. So I think it's very funny that an undead would be seeking out that particular flower because it smells like something it wants to eat, and then it kind of, I guess, becomes part of it. I don't know exactly. Does it say here?
Into the body and takes control.
Goes into its body and takes control. So it's like a parasitic version.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, I think that's pretty great.
Oh, it's gross. Oh, I love it. I guess the nicest thing here is that actually specifying location for the characters, for the entries because that's nice. Otherwise, you just kind of had to go off of guesswork and vibes from the description.
Right.
But here's
and also we got 3 new big maps of different areas, so this kind of helps you place where something.
I was so confused because I thought it was 2 big maps. Initially, I did not realize there was a divider between the first 2. Which had me extremely confused because the far peaks are in a different location than Innocence entirely. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, that would be weird.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
Yeah, so I mean, more or less, we got stat lines here for a bunch of, a lot of this stuff is directly from Alpha. This is actually a pretty short bestiary by the standards of most of these books. Um, it's interesting to me that we got a whole bunch of new plants. I know you're a big fan of some of the plants in the old Through the Breach expansions that are not in Malifaux proper. There's also a plant characteristic here.
Yes.
I feel like maybe there needs to be a plant-based crew in Malifaux in the future because there's so many now that they could easily fill it out in just like 2 Through the Breach books.
Yeah, I know. I know the Arcanist could get into botany. We're missing it. We're missing an eighth master.
So what do you think? Do you think we're gonna get a botanist type master that just summons plants like Pokemon?
It's just not Titania. I mean, not Lilith. It's
Well,
not Lilith.
but again, this would be like I mean, most of these plants are also Bayou adjacent in some way, so it would have to be like more of a creepy carnivorous plant based crew because there's like 10 of them by now. Like there's so many.
Bayou sucks. It's just
No,
awful.
I'm not saying it has to be Bayou faction. I'm saying lore wise it's Bayou related, so it's not necessarily.
I'm just saying the biome is an awful place. Yeah, I think a lot of part of it was the botanist needed stuff to do.
Mhm.
For that subsect of the Beastmaster, I think.
Yeah.
Is it there's a botanist in there somewhere.
Botanist is under methodologist.
Methodologist, okay. Yeah. Gotta have more plants and stuff to do stuff with. But yeah, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the reason there's plants now. And then they like also specify like, hey, there's ones previously that didn't have plant characteristic. Go give them the plant characteristic.
Right, of course. Well, so I get why they add it to Through the Breach, but my thing is a lot of times in future Malifaux expansions, they add characters from the Through the Breach Beastiary, and a lot of the ones they haven't used by now, like a significant proportion of them are these plants. So when are we going to get a new crew that's based on the plant keyword?
If you keep pointing it out, they're not going to do it.
Damn.
We didn't see nothing.
Weird. Don't listen to this video. Don't watch. I'll put a note where weird employees are no longer allowed to watch the video.
We want to talk maps? Or are you still want to discuss Beastiary?
Yeah, I kind of talked a bit about the maps in my video about the lore stuff, but anything here that struck you as particularly interesting on the maps?
I find it hilarious. There's an invisible wall in the ocean.
I mean, something has to stop you from going beyond the bounds of the game, you know?
That would keep people from exploring too far. It's just a storm. It's always there. You can't go past it. You die. The end. I wasn't expecting 3 maps. I love maps. And I was kind of sad because it seemed like they were stopping doing maps.
Mm-hmm.
But...
Well, we haven't really expanded the map out as far as what, we are aware of as players in quite a while. Like, obviously, we added the ocean, just the coast, when the Explorer Society book came out. But prior to that, we've kind of known the existing world map since like 2nd edition, I guess.
Yeah, more or less. It's vaguely similar to the American South. That's kind of close to. It's weird, but yeah. I can see where they took inspiration from the Wild West, cramming things together and shortening distances. But yeah, once we got to this point, I would really much enjoy some distances, some getting us a little bit more accurate scale, and then what I've always wanted was for them to go through and like actually plot out street by street Malifaux City. That would be hard. It would just be more like hire an artist to do it. I don't think there's any particular problem that would be with the lore, because who's going to be like, oh, actually they were on the lore specified they were on this street, but that's actually like 5 blocks away from this one place that said they took half an hour to walk there, and why would it take that? I don't think anyone's gonna.
You're asking who would do that, but we're the 2 people that would do that. Like,
I won't do that. I want a big map of Malifaux I can just hang up in my office.
I suspect there's 2 reasons for that. One is it's an extremely large city, even by like modern city standards. If you look at some of the estimates, like just the physical size of Malifaux City is like bigger than New York City with all the boroughs, and that's very very large. And then the other thing is, I suspect they don't want to tie themselves to a certain layout that they couldn't then change later if they wanted to. Right now, because everything's kept pretty loose, you know, we have neighborhoods basically, but nothing more specific than that. Um, if they decide later that they want to change the layout of some of that stuff, it doesn't, you know, they're not tied to anything yet, and they probably don't want to commit to one set layout because then they have to work within that structure, I guess.
Just say it's non-canon.
But anyway, we need more maps. I would love to have more distances, or at least like get a really good sense of scale, or just travel time, because that's what always
Yeah.
comes up. Even if they're not going to like chain themselves to a specific, perfectly laid out map that gives us every specific distance, just to you know how long does it take to walk to Ridley? That would be good information to know. You know.
I think you can get there on a train ride in one day, but I feel like they need to extend some of them because some of the original or early stuff did have some vague, like it was just like half a day to get to edge points by train, sort of a
Right.
thing, which feels like it needs to be bigger. Like I feel like the map is bigger than that, but that's it's my feeling. I feel like they should extend it a little bit just to give them more play space.
Well, and also different sources have definitely been in conflict, because I
Uh-huh.
do remember it through the Breach Adventure where you could get to Ridley in like an hour or two on a train, which seems way too short.
Yeah, it does.
But that's why having them release something that says like here's the official transit times by different
Hmm.
methods, it would be useful. But yeah, that's everything for Onward. I mean, by everything, we barely scratched the surface. That's a little bit from each section. Anything else that you wanted to highlight or point out, or final
We
thoughts on
covered
that?
everything.
Huh?
I'm good. We covered everything.
Yeah. Um, do you see a lot of this stuff getting used in most of your campaigns in
Oh,
significant ways?
absolutely. Like the pulpy of vibe that is the Explorer Society. You know, the not rich jerks side of it. It very much fits into the aesthetic of role playing games. So it's one of the better supplements for that. I think, at least one of the better general supplements. Because some of the other supplements are very specific to like a faction,
Mhm.
and you're not going to be pulling as much out of it unless you are involving those factions. I can see a lot of stuff coming out of this, even if you aren't involving the explorers, because you can very much easily be a generic explorer that isn't tied to the Explorer Society. Um, any of those pursuits, a lot of that equipment, with like the exception of like the type. Well, I think more of the equipment's the one thing that's really specifically tied to that. But anyways, yeah, a lot of it you can use without having to involve the Explorer Society or just steal it from 'em. I don't care.
Yeah, I think From Nightmares is like a lot of people's favorite book out of the expansion, just because it has so much interesting stuff in it. But at least for me, it's the least used for exactly the reason that you just called out. Of like, unless you're really focusing on Neverborn stuff, a lot of this stuff can't really come up or be used in an adventure. So I agree. I think a lot of this stuff is interesting and applicable to almost any adventure or any scenario.
Yep. I want to say this one above the law to an extent into the Steam, although a lot of into the Steam ended up making its way into the rewrite of the core rules, so
Yeah.
that's not really fair. But yeah, those I think are the three that are the best generic supplements. I'm assuming this ends up being a very good generic supplement.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. But anyway, everybody should go pick up a copy and crack it open and check it out for themselves and let us know what you think. Anything fun coming up on Steam Powered Scoundrels that we should look
Well,
forward to?
I don't know when this is coming out, but we're going to
Friday.
Gen Con.
We'll be at
Friday.
Gen Con when this
We'll
posts.
be at Gen Con. We're having a blast, having a good time. I'm getting to miss. I get to miss trivia.
Oh
I'm
no.
so sad.
Yeah,
I'm so
it
sad.
seems like a lot of other stuff was scheduled for that time. I've gotten messages from a handful of people that are like, "Oh, I got a thing already."
No, that's good because that gives other people a chance to win.
That's fair.
The reason I'm missing out on that is because I'm running my own events this year. I'm running Bonanza Brawl.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Are you sticking to third edition?
Yeah, because we still don't have solidified fourth edition rules.
Yeah,
So once we get out of beta and we got that going, it's like my top priority is start rewriting that and get us a new deck and get that stuff rolling because that's still really fun.
Nice. So how do people sign up for that? Just do regular Gen Con sign up, or
just go into Bonanza Brawl. We still have slots open Friday and Saturday night. Saturday night's the duos thing, but I actually sold out Thursday, which feels really, really good.
Nice. Well, if you're listening to this when it launches, then you still have time to go register for that. Or if you want to come do some trivia and win some prizes, then you can sign up for my thing. It's at 6:00 today. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on, and obviously everybody should go check out both Steam Powered Scoundrels, the podcast, as well as Artifactors Union, so that you can learn how to build some plastic war dollies without raging and throwing them across the room.
Gotta do Mossbeard's beard.
Nice. Hopefully, it's not as bad as Yanlo's beard.
I haven't heard good things. Anyways, yes. Thank you for the shout out.
Absolutely. Until next time. I want to send a huge thank you to the extremely cool kids here on Patreon, the Steam Powered Scoundrels, Dogmatized, Spanner Rider, Rob Younce, Tom Likely, and Russets. And thanks for watching.
Who said it's bigger than New York?
So if you take certain, I forget where I found this. There was a week where on the weird Discord, a bunch of people were like just trying to infer different distances based on different things. And I remember one of the estimates of the size of Malifaux City was that it was, I forget the exact number, but I compared it to other common cities, and it was gigantic. It was very, very big.
36.
Because it's like an hour train ride to get from one side to the other. With 3 stops.
If you go along the river, so the longest point to point, that's 36 miles.
36 miles?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one place we have a distance legend is the very first map in the core.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so this is an AI estimate, so take it with several grains of salt. I didn't ask AI, I Googled the question, and it came up with this stupid AI overview answer, but it says the overall length of NYC from the northeast to the southwest is about 35 miles.
Okay.
So we're looking at roughly the size of New York City.
That makes a lot of sense.